Your Jacksonville Jaguars are Super Bowl champions. Where are we headed? Well, it's not going to be to Walt Disney World. We are headed straight into an off-season where we've got a lot to get done. Welcome in as we get set for season number 4 here with the Jacksonville Jaguars after we just beat the Dallas Cowboys 27-20. Winning the first Super Bowl in the history of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got one for Duval. But as we look to conclude the season, let's go over a number of things. Starting first with the awards, Joe Burrow took MVP. We didn't have a single player in the running, but we did have Coach Madison Boston win your Coach of the Year. So that is fantastic. That goes with his player accolades during his time with the Panthers. As for the AFC specific awards, your offensive player of the year is Joe Burrow. We did have Travis Etienne in the running all the way down here at 10. Defensive player, that goes to Patrick Surtain, but we did have Trayvon Walker as well as Devin Lloyd in the running on this side. Offensive rookie does not go to Jeff Polk. Instead, it goes to the Bengals' Greg McCain. And for a rookie, he did have a phenomenal season. 1,273 yards on 78 grabs. He averaged 16 yards a catch, about 75 yards a game, had 18 touchdowns. And that doesn't include any sort of postseason stats. On top of that, he did also run the ball a few times, 6 times for 34 yards. A really good season for him. We'll talk about Jeff Polk's stats in a minute. But we did win a defensive rookie of the year with Terrence Yancey. Rakeem Griffey was also in the running down at 3. Best quarterback, that goes to the MVP in Joe Burrow. Best running back, Isaiah Pacheco, with Travis Etienne sitting here at 2nd. Best receiver does go to McCann. None of our guys really at the top of the running here, but Brian Thomas Jr. was down at 9. Best O-lineman goes to Tyler Linderbaum. Akeem Okwonu, though, did finish 3. He was one of the guys we traded for. And a rookie of ours in Rashawn Hartwell, who didn't even start most of the season, he finished at 7. To the defensive line, it is Greg Rousseau. We did not have anyone in the running, which I don't necessarily agree with, but we did have some guys in the running for best linebacker. TJ Watt, though, takes that. Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines-Allen in 2nd and 3rd. And Devin Lloyd was on the list as an off-ball linebacker. Very rare. Best DB, Patrick Surtain, obviously being the defensive player of the year. Terrence Yancey, though, cracks the list down at 7, your defensive rookie of the year. And best kicker goes to McPherson. Cam Little was in 2nd. We'll get through the NFC rather quickly. Will Lutz, best kicker. Best offensive player of the year, not necessarily best quarterback, but maybe Jalen Hurts. Defensive player of the year is Jalen Johnson. Offensive rookie, we have DeMarcus Webster. And it's Keenan Duval, who maybe should have been playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Defensive rookie of the year. Best quarterback was not Hurts. Instead, it's actually Elijah Candidate. A little bit of a surprise there. Best running back, Kenneth Walker. Best receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Best O-line, Tyler Smith. Best D-line, Aiden Hutchinson. Best linebacker, Willie Gay. And best DB, Jalen Johnson. But overall, a impressive season for us. Let's break down the stats. Jeff Polk finished with 27 touchdowns to 14 interceptions. He had 58% complete and threw for nearly 4,000 yards. And this does not include any postseason stats. Now, the big thing about Jeff Polk is when he started here with the Jacksonville Jaguars, his first handful of games, things were not looking all too great. In fact, you all voted, and a lot of you were thinking he was probably gonna be a bust. But after the season came and gone, we posted another poll, and you all got to vote again on what you thought of Jeff Polk, and unanimously, you all think that Jeff Polk is him. There's one person, though, that still says he's a bust. I think we just have a troll around here. But Jeff Polk, a phenomenal rookie year, superstar X Factor, That should stick around with still an impressive season, but it's the guys around him that might look a little different moving into this next season, and that could potentially start with Travis Etienne. Just finished his 6th year in the league, 1,234 yards, 13 touchdowns, did have a fumble. My concern with Travis Etienne is he's about to turn 28. He will start regressing. We need to find what our future plan is here at running back, because we probably have 1-2 years max with him still at a good spot. On the receiving side, Brian Thomas Jr. was a bit shaken up this year. He missed a lot of time, but even with that, he still was over 900 yards, 10 touchdowns. Jordan Addison, a great addition. He was just about at 900 himself, 9 touchdowns. Those two be a really good pair. And Gabe Davis, who finished with 773 and 6 touchdowns. What is the plan for him? He just finished his 7th season, will be turning 28. I believe the same as Travis Etienne, and he very well could see some regression. Do we look to move off from him? Do we have someone in the waiting? That's all going to hopefully be decided today. Another guy who maybe will be sticking around, maybe not, Dawson Knox, the tight end, traded for him after the real questions around Maxwell Sexton, and we are going to have a feature on him at a later part in this episode. But Dawson Knox finishes with 662 and 3 touchdowns. Etienne had a receiving touchdown close to 500 yards. Sexton just didn't really see as much action due to that injury concern. And we are going to break down our draft classes today as well and kind of show how we are doing and how our draft classes have really performed. Getting to the offensive line, it was a very clean season for us after a pretty massive overhaul. Bringing in Jack Conklin as well as Akeem Ekwonu, who did not give up a sack this season. Pressures, that's a different story. On the defensive side, our 2 main linebackers, Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd, lead us in tackles by a large margin, mostly going to Devin Lloyd. But we've talked about players getting older, and Foye Oluokun is about to be 32 years old. He's probably going to look to get some extra money before he has to retire, and he will probably regress this offseason. That block shedding will already go down with the morale 3. Then that might regress even more, so he is someone who we may look to move on from today. But the real heart and soul of this defense was the front 7 play. Look at all these tackles for a loss. We had 8 guys in double-digit TFLs. Absolutely phenomenal. Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines Allen combined for 44 TFLs by themselves. That is why both have $100 million contracts, and why someone like Josh Hines Allen might be headed to a new team. About to be 30 years old, he is going to regress, and he's going to take a lot of money. Heading into his last 2 years on this contract, he's set to make $31 to $32 million. That is a lot of money that we could use to bring in several players for either depth or potential even some spot starters. So we'll see where the future lies here for Josh Hines Allen, who did not lead us in sacks. That was Trayvon Walker, 11 for him, 9 for Hines Allen, and Rakeem Griffey. Talking about rookies, he didn't even start the full year. He maybe played rotationally the last half of the season. 11 TFLs for him, 7 sacks. Absolutely phenomenal play for our front 7. We got a lot of interceptions this year as well. 4 for Devin Lloyd, 3 for Yancey and Campbell, and then a couple more spread out. Now, I also believe we're going to see some heavy rotation here when it comes to the cornerback group. And one player who will probably be on his way out is Ringo. He's played well, but right now we don't have the money to keep him around, and we have a few guys sitting underneath him on the depth chart who should see some playing time. But Ringo has vastly improved during his time here at Duval. And that leads us to the portion where I really want to talk about these last 2 draft classes and how they've impacted this team. So let's just break things down then, talking about the youngest players. And we'll start with our first overall pick in this series, Maxwell Sexton. Now, we took him 27th overall in the first round of our first draft. And I can't say that the stats really proved that it was a good pick for us. Only 13 catches this last year, 19 his rookie year, and 1 touchdown to show for it. Now, he does help in the run blocking, but ultimately the biggest problem for Sexton is what we've talked about. He can't stay healthy because his injury rating is down at a 78. So what we plan to do with Sexton this offseason is we're going to put him on a diet. Right now, he's playing at 6'3", 260. I think we put him in an offseason program that gets him down to a playing weight around 245, 250. Now, with that, he will probably get a boost to his speed, playing a little bit lighter. That might look like an 84. His strength, however, that might drop with the loss of weight. And with that, the run blocking ratings might go down a little bit. Currently a 72 run blocking. But with all that, playing at the lighter weight, playing a little bit healthier, that injury rating might go up a few and keep him healthier and be a bigger part of this team's future. The next player that I think could be a big part of this team's future is Levi Brown, the guy we drafted as a receiver out of UCLA. And the fact that he was the 19th pick in the 7th round, if this doesn't work out, we're not really losing much of an investment. But right now, he is the 2nd best running back we have on a roster with 99 speed. He's an elusive guy who can make plays in open space. And with the former skills of a receiver, I think he should be used a lot more in receiving game. Maybe take a little bit of weight off of Travis Etienne, and we won't see that regression affect him all too much. Another player that I would like to see get some more playing time was our returner from last year in Kirk Colbert. He was again a part of our first draft, though signed as a UDFA. So keeping him around at 23, about to be 24, this is going to be a crucial year for him. He's got short and medium route running. He's a guy that I think could play in the slot, and perhaps that would get Addison more to the outside or just allow a little bit more rotation for us. He's got speed, he's got hands, he simply just needs to see the field. Getting to the offensive line, one of our earlier picks from that first draft, in fact, pick 1 of round 2 was Luke Bacon. And he is an interesting offensive lineman. He's kind of worked in both the agile and the power, and I think he could be a solid guy for our future. The strength, really nothing promising there, but he has played pretty clean, and that pass pro is looking very promising. Perhaps he's someone that could shift over to a left tackle spot if we look to move on from Harrison. And on the defensive front, the pick right after Luke Bacon, as we made sure we got a guy for both lines, Junior Alford. He's had some very impressive play. He's had to deal with some injuries of his own. There's also at a 78. That was the problem with our first draft class. The injuries are a massive concern. But the block shedding, the power moves, he is a well-rounded player. And a guy we're hoping to see become a very well-rounded player is Cole Hall, a mid-round linebacker who is already up to an 82. And I think he is set to potentially take over for Foye Oluokun. The block shedding is at a good spot. The coverages are at a pretty good spot as well. He's a little bit light for a linebacker at 235, but I still think for modern day football, he'll be a good piece for our future. And replacing him as depth, we have Dylan Bullitt, who we didn't even sign until this previous offseason, but was a part of that first draft class, UDFA. I mean, he's got about the same size, a little bit shorter, but he's that next guy really to be there. And I think with a little bit more playing time, if Hall moves up, we'll see him develop as well. And maybe in a couple years, if Devin Lloyd looks to move on for a bunch of money, we have another guy waiting in reserve. Well, that moves us to our last draft class, and I think it's the biggest of them all. Headlined by Jeff Polk, we've already talked about him. He is the future of this team's offense. And potentially joining that future is someone like Madison Turner, who we did see play a little bit of tight end, a little bit of fullback this year. He was a mid to late round rookie that we picked up, and he has some raw ratings, but I think with a little bit more playing time, we could see these move up. And for him, we don't have to worry about injury. That's at a 95. On the offensive front, we do have hidden dev rookie Rashawn Hartwell, who was in the running for one of the best offensive linemen this year, despite not being a full-time starter, and that was really due to the fact that he's finesse over power, and that was costing us a lot early on in the season. That's why we made those trades. He was a great fill-in kind of guy. Will he get another shot, or will he kind of become trade candy for us? I think this offseason will define that. But arguably, the biggest surprise of this last draft class was Rakeem Griffey. We selected him early 3rd round, pick number 9. And because of his play, we have that ability now to potentially move off from Josh Hines Allen and save some of that money. Because he's got the speed, he's got the strength, he could play on the inside, he could play on the outside, and he's got some power to back up his finesse as well. A truly phenomenal rookie year. I was hoping that he would get some more accolades, and maybe he will see a dev boost as we sim into the actual offseason. But in the same step as Rakeem Griffey, you do have Terrence Yancey, who didn't start the year as the starter, but Daxton Hill did not play well. Terrence Yancey was given 1 start, and from that time, he did not look back. A phenomenal defensive rookie of the year campaign. He's got the coverage, man and zone. He could play safeties, both spots, free and strong. He could drop down to the slot if we need him. He is an all-around playmaker, and we love him for it. But we do have 2 guys that we would love to see added to a really good last rookie class for us in George Boss and Lamar Gray, both at cornerback. Now, Boss, he's the man-to-man style guy. 74th that spot, 72 when it comes to the slot, and I think that could be a really fantastic spot for him, potentially taking over for Ringo if we do decide to move off, because he's got the man, he's got good press. The zone is a work in progress, but the tackling at a 72 is phenomenal. He could even potentially play a little bit of safety if we need it. Now, Gray, he's a year younger, and he's a hidden dev, but he did not see the playing field at all this last year outside of some special teams play. Now, for him, he's a little bit more balanced. The ratings are a little bit lower, and we could still try to mold him into any spot we want. The speed isn't as high. Both are guys who could play safety if we need. We've got really good depth here at corner, and I think they need to see more playing time. And while there were still a couple more guys that were a part of those classes, they still haven't really figured out a role yet. So we're going to get things rolling into the offseason, officially concluding the 2026 season with your Jacksonville Jaguars on top. The yearly awards over on the right-hand side, and your Super Bowl MVP in Jeff Holt. But getting into the offseason, the first thing we have to do is fill both of our coordinator roles. They both got hired away from us. And you could argue that both were a pretty integral part of why we were so good this last year. So we have to find someone that will keep the quarterback play where we want, help out the offensive line. Now, we are looking more for a power-focused offense. So someone like Jamie Rodriguez does have that West Coast power run. There is also Malcolm Brooks with that same scheme. If we want to change it up a little bit, Jared Paul has the vertical power run. Same for Seth Henry, and he does have 90 hiring bonus. And that would be the highest of all of these candidates. But is his tree what we're looking for? He does have the pocket passing and the offensive line guru. Open field moves, I feel like this could be a pretty good fit. We could keep our quarterback play high and keep the offensive line play high as well. And he does have the pocket passing, offensive line guru, and open field moves, so we could really keep the offense running exactly how we had it. So if we go with Seth Henry, the vertical power run, that might spread out our offense a little bit more and potentially could get Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit more jet sweep, some touches rather than receptions, which is something he was looking for last year. So I think we hire a new OC, and that is going to be Seth Henry. Now, as for the DC, we have been running more of a 3-4 style, and there are a few actually, 3 of the 4. So Scott Anderson, what does your tree look like? And there already are some points spent. He has stacked box, which would give us some help for the DBs and run stopping ability. And then for the linebackers, just some overall speed, strength, stamina kind of things. Man secondary, we do run more of a man style, and linebacker guru, so he would not help out our defensive line. That is probably the strongest group, though, heading into this next season. We could also look to sacrifice some of the hiring bonus and go with either Gary Lucia or Jackson Pierce if they have a better tree. And for Pierce, he has the full blitz zone secondary, which would help out the weak part of our secondary, focusing on that zone while the man is already higher. And then he would have the defensive line guru. Gary Lucia would be a little bit more of the opposite in terms of the just improving what we are already good at, which is the man. Now, I figure we probably run a 60-40 split man to zone. Would it be better for us to improve the zone, the weaker part, especially with those younger corners? I think that would be the better call. So with that, we are going to hire Jackson Pearson. He's going to bring his 3-4 storm defense to Duval. Now, on top of that, we have just about 300 staff points that we could use to upgrade these guys, and we will do that once we get the team set. We know what our weaknesses are, and we'll improve it before the season gets going. And putting that team together, that starts right now, as we have $33 million in cap space with some decisions to make. And it starts off here with Brian Thomas Jr., a 5th-year option. This would move money down the line. It would not affect the 33 right now. And I feel like this is a good option for us to take. Give us that extra year, see how the play is, and then decide on a long-term contract when we have some of the heavier contracts already off the sheets. So for Brian Thomas Jr., we will accept. Now that moves us to Gabe Davis. 28 years old. He's 87 overall. Did he lose much of anything? No. He did not regress at all this offseason. The route running is superb. That would keep us 3 deep, but would limit the chance for someone like Colbert to see some more playing time. I think this is something that perhaps we wait into the offseason, see what the market looks like. And by offseason, I mean open free agency. There's a lot of interest there, but we don't have much cap right now. Dawson Knox, he doesn't have much of any interest. We want Maxwell Sexton to be the future if he could stay healthy. We're going to move off from Dawson Knox now, but appreciate his help in winning a Super Bowl. Keely Ringo, it's going to be about the same thing. No interest from him. He will be moving on. Cameron Mitchell, no interest. He will be moving on. Parker Washington, not really any interest from our side as well. Antonio Johnson is an interesting guy. He's a backup. He is 25 years old, a 76 true overall, and he's got some good ratings. But if we're not going to get all the corners into a starting spot, again, some of them could shift over to safety and fill this spot, and we don't have to spend any money. So I think that's what we're going to do. So despite Johnson having that interest, he will look to go elsewhere, and he might find a starting spot elsewhere. Tank Bigsby is another guy I'm going to move off from. He just hasn't looked that impressive with the ball in his hands. Brenton Strange, we do need to find another tight end. What that's going to look like, we will find out. Now, Kirk Colbert, he is not all too intrigued in coming back, even though he's someone that I would like to see return. I think a 2-year deal here would be pretty solid, though. He's unproven. I don't want to have him have too big of a contract. We'll offer this 2-year deal. I don't think he will accept, and he's not going to right now. That's someone that we could look to go back to in open free agency. Bullet, I would want to keep around as that depth for the future. We'll offer him a smaller deal here, but he could very well be moving into that number 3 guy off the bench for us role. So you're going to have to pay a little bit more here. But he's not interested in signing, so we will have to come back to him as well, open free agency. Yasir Abdullah, we will be moving on from. Tyler Lacey as well. Jack Conklin, Doesn't look like he really regressed much, but he doesn't have much interest. So again, we'll see what the market holds. Geno Smith has regressed a little bit. We'll look for a new backup this year. So that leaves us with the decision to make then on if we want to re-sign Gabe Davis. I would consider a 2-year deal. Take him till he's 30. But will he take a cheaper contract? Because right now the cap space with this deal would put us at 14 left, with us still trying to get some players off the depth chart. We'll offer a much smaller role here. He probably will refuse. 2 years, I'm looking at 16 in total. Gabe Davis appreciates the offer, but will test. I expected him to do so. And if you're curious about franchise tagging, absolutely not. It would cost us $45.6 million. So as we move into the first week of open free agency, I think it's important that we also make some of our players available. And the first player we're going to just put on the trade block is going to be Javon Baker. He was someone we brought in I believe it was a multi-trade situation where there was a player, some picks involved. He's got a lot of talent. We just haven't seen him do much out there. Now, with Gabe Davis possibly gone, he could fill in, but we will shop around to just see what his market is. So we'll add him to the block. Another player, and possibly a surprise player I'm going to add to the block, is Antone Harrison. He's an 81 true with the morale 86, and the reason we're adding him to the block, despite really good pass blocking ratings, is the fact that he is a massive liability on the offensive line when it comes to penalties. Undisciplined penalty tendency. It should be even worse than that. He's good for at least 1 to 2 holdings a game. So we're going to see if anyone has anything they want to offer. As for Rashawn Hartwell, we talked about potentially trading him. If we do, that would be a post-draft situation to see if we fill a need. So we'll hold on to him for right now. Getting over to the defensive side, I'm going to put Dayo Odeyingbo on the block as well. He just isn't seeing that much playing time. I still think he's a good player, but right now he's taking up $3.5 million in cap space. So that's something that we could look to potentially move on and bring in some younger talent if we find it. In the same kind of role, we also have Jordan Jefferson, who's going into his 4th year. He just hasn't seen the playing time. He's another guy that we might not actually look to trade, but I do want to see if anyone has any offers, and it looks like the CPU does have the same thought process. He's already on the block. Now, Foye Oluokun did not actually regress too heavily. There was a good bit that did go down, 3 to agility, 4 to tackling. But the block shedding and the coverage actually stayed at a pretty good spot. But I still would like to get the young guys out there and see what they can do. So for now, we are going to add him to the block. Again, we're going to have to see some good contracts come in because I do want Hall to see more playing time. And we already talked about Josh Hines Allen, 30 years old. He is already seeing some regression though. He lost 17, 5 to play rec, 3 to power moves. A little bit of some zone coverage mixed in there, which I'm fine with because he's more of just an edge rusher. The ratings are still at a really good spot. I would expect a lot to come in if we were to trade Hines Allen. So for now, and for the potential saving of money, we will add him to the block. And lastly, a player I am definitely trading, even if we don't get much in return, that's going to be Daxton Hill. He did not play well last year at all. But with a lot of our guys now on the block, it's time for us to potentially go shopping here. And the top few guys on the board are all actually pretty well rated, and not all of them are super old either. As for the quarterbacks, top available is Will Levis, so we may no longer see him at Tennessee. We'll have a new quarterback to play against. Running back wise, Zach Charbonnet is available, an interesting player. I would look more for a rookie to put behind ETN, someone we could get a full contract out of. As for the receivers, Gabe Davis is at the top. He already has 6 offers put in. So most likely, we are not going after him. We'd be looking for someone who doesn't have much offers. Trey Tucker would be an interesting option, but wouldn't necessarily put him into a starting role. Now at tight end, there are actually quite a few really good younger options. And we do run a lot of, or did run at least a lot of 2 tight end sets. Now switching to the vertical, perhaps we don't need as many 2, but I still think investing in a second tight end with the concern of injury, even if we do get that boost to injury for Sexton, would make a lot of sense. And there is currently no one going after Luke Musgrave. He plays at 6'6", 253, so more of that size where we're looking to get Sexton to. Normal dev, but he has speed, he has hands. The run blocking isn't great, 64, but it still could be a pretty solid option with some good short route running. There's also Darnell Washington, 6'7", 264, normal. That run blocking is a little bit better. The speed is a little bit lower. Hands still at a pretty solid spot, but the route running is raw. Or how about someone like Daniel Bellinger, 6'5", 253, a San Diego State kid with some speed, some hands. Run blocking again isn't quite there, but there's some better route running ability. Or we bring back Brenton Strange, who didn't have much interest before, but he's got speed, hands. Run blocking is okay, but he's got short and medium, and if we're going to stretch the field down the field, we need a little bit more of that medium. The deep isn't quite there, but he also has 90 injury, and that is pretty solid. I think we could make a smaller offer here for Strange. Now, he is currently looking at about 6.45 a season. I'm looking for something smaller. I'm also thinking a 2-year deal. So this is not going to be a sizable offer whatsoever. 2 years, $5 million. That's what I'm putting on the table. Now, here is a very interesting player I found on the free agent market. Second-year player Michael Caldwell, 74 overall normal dev, who's got extreme power moves, but everything else is kind of raw. If we were looking for someone cheaper to take over for Deo, this could be an option. And he has the same ability with a interesting size at 5'11", 243 to potentially play a little bit of down defensive lineman and outside linebacker for us. Someone to keep an eye on. And in fact, with no one else offering him, I think we do put in a small offer here. He's looking for about $8 million. That's not what I'm thinking. I think this is more like a prove it kind of deal. So we're going to go pretty cheap. Again, it's got to be cheaper than what we're paying for Deo. This would be 3 in total. We'll put in the offer again. A lot of these are small ball offers. Now, if we want to go and pay a good bit more for a similar kind of player, there is Lucas Van Ness available. Superstar, 26 years old. Again, with that size, he could play outside. He could play off ball. He's got 86 speed with 81 strength. He's got the power moves, block shedding is there. Not the same level, quite obviously, as Josh Hines-Allen, but could step in at a cheaper rate. So just trying to see what it would take to get us in this conversation. He's looking at a 2-year deal, which would take him to 28 years old and about 15 mil, just slightly under per season. So what if we bump that up to 3 here? And we make this exactly 15 on the dot. Where does that get us? It actually puts us right on up there with the Titans and the Dolphins. But with $11.4 million, I think this is where we have to pump the brakes before any sort of trades take place. So let's just slide on over then to our targets. We obviously have the 2 edge rushers and the tight end. Didn't see any offensive linemen I particularly like, so we're not making a move yet. But we're looking to add some impact, younger talent. Do they decide to come to Duval? Well, one made his decision, and that's Lucas Van Ness. And it's not to come to Jacksonville. Did he sign with the Tennessee Titans, and will we be playing against him? No, he goes to Miami instead. Fine by me. If we don't get him, don't go to a rival. But for Brenton Strange, no new competition has come in. But the Titans are now interested in Caldwell due to the fact that, well, they didn't get Lucas Van Ness. I'm not trying to pay all too high for this spot. I'm not going to put in any other offers. If he decides he wants to go to Jacksonville, that's fine by me. And if the young guy doesn't want to come to Jacksonville, maybe we get a little bit of an older player, not that much older, 25 still, in Nate Herbig. He provides that power move. Block shedding still going to be a work in progress. This is another contract that I wouldn't put that heavy of a deal on the table. Right now, he's looking for a 4-year contract, about $7 million. I would make this a 2-year contract, bump down the salary, and bump down the bonus. A cheaper contract for us. We'll see if Herbig has any interest. Now, going back to Kirk Colbert, we also need to check on Bullet as well. Like to offer another small deal here, save some money, but try to keep around a guy who we think has some promise. Small offer. And for Bullet, once again, he also doesn't have anyone interested. We're going to lower this offer, make it a 3-year deal worth $3.5 a season. So that's got our board filled up here. Herbig and Strange. Michael Caldwell, there is some interest there. Again, he might go to Tennessee. He's a young guy, probably want to be a starter, and want to keep some options open for the draft. So we'll evaluate here, and no one decides. Bills now have interest in Herbig. Still no one on Strange. Caldwell still waiting. Colbert and Bullet, still we are the only ones going after him. So we will evaluate one more time, and someone decides. That was the young outside linebacker, not headed to Jacksonville. This time, Tennessee, they land their guy, Michael Caldwell. We will now be playing against you. But again, outside of Herbig, we are still the top offers for these guys. I'll see if there's another off-ball or outside edge rusher, and we'll move forward to the next week. And jumping over to the next week, we land our first signee, and that is Dylan Bullet returning. No trade offers have come in yet, though, for any of our players on the block. Checking the targets, I did put a very small offer in on Trey Tucker, and the Giants are well in front of us there. Just wanted to see if we could steal one away. We are technically on top here of the Bills now for Nick Herbig. Brenton Strange and Kirk Colbert still the only one putting in offers. And after taking a look around, I'm not finding a whole lot more I would want to go after here. We're kind of scraping the bottle right now until we get towards the draft, figure out a plan there, and make some trades. But I did add Geno back onto our board here. He's the only quarterback with some speed that does have that mentor tag. So we'll see if any of these guys do decide to join, as we've got just about $8.5 million in cap space left. And a bunch of players just decided. Herbig and Colbert, they're still on the lines. And we bring back Brenton Strange and Geno Smith. So we see some guys return. As for Herbig and Colbert, they still not all have decided. Colbert's still on the line, and Herbig is not coming here, so we don't land an off-ball or outside edge guy. And finally, Colbert decides he does return. So the only work we really do in free agency is just bringing back some of our younger guys who we just needed to get back on a cheaper deal. Outside of Geno Smith, he's on the older side, but we bring back the veteran backup, the mentor for Jeff Polk. And getting then to the recap week, our first trade offers do come in, and they're for Javon Baker. Let's review the offers here. Again, he's not someone we have to trade away, but I am interested to see what teams are offering. A 24-year-old corner, we don't need any corner. A guard in Dave Barry. A receiver in J.R. Reddick, plus a 5th and 7th rounder. That is intriguing. Though I believe we just finished, the 2026 season? Yeah, so that is a future. Those are future picks. We're looking for 2027. There are actually some intriguing offers here. One to consider with a 7th round pick, Braylon Allen, a young running back who we could then put behind Travis Etienne. But that would be giving up Javon Baker, who is currently in line to be a starting receiver. Another option, Tom Saban talked about needing a tight end. Now we did get Brenton Strange. We have 3 currently on roster, but he's 22 years old, something we can take a look at. Now, right now, the Jets, they really do not need Allen. They have 26-year-old Breece Hall, and they have a 22-year-old in Lamont Cole. Now, when it comes to Braylon Allen, he is not a speedster. He's an elusive back guy, but He's got 87 for his top end speed. There's some good moves in there, but I'm not sure he's the man of the future. And for the Lions, they do only currently have 2 tight ends. This would be a second-year tight end in Saban, and he would be coming in a vertical threat, though very similar to his possession style, 6'6", 261. Not exactly the fastest speed, some solid route running, some run blocking isn't too bad. Really good injury, but I don't think he's much of an improvement over on Brenton Strange, who already is familiar with the team. While I think these trade offers were interesting, they're not interesting enough for us to trade away a possible starter, so we are going to decline these first round of offers. But now we do really need to start getting focused in on the draft and deciding where we want to go. We've talked about wanting a running back of the future, and we do have a pretty good amount of information, but we could look to finish off some of these guys who are around the 80s. Now, we want some elusiveness. I'm not against some power, but we need someone who looks impressive. And do we have that here in the draft? A lot of these guys at the top, they might have some good break tackle, ball carrier vision, carrying is there, but when it comes to the moves, it's a little bit disappointing. You got a spin move guy here with Gil Farr, who's 5'8", 199. A little bit down the lines, though, here in the round 3 to 4, you have a power back. Sammy Perkins with A stiff arm, A trucking, A break tackle, B for ball carrier vision, and carrying with A to B awareness. Taking a look at his card, he's 6 foot 221, 22 years old, out of Connecticut. 4.56 to 4.61. Not exactly the top end speed, but still an interesting running back. Not necessarily someone we have to spend a private workout on. As for receivers, since we're not exactly sold on Javon Baker, there are a lot of options. But the top 5 is actually a round 1. And the round 1 to 2s are actually round 1 to 2s or even a round 2 to 3. So no one really jumped off the board here until you get down to Brian Austin. A round 3 to 4 projection, but true talent is round 1 to 2. Someone to keep an eye on for sure. He's a slot guy. 5'10", 192, out of Alabama. He has close to 4.5 speed, but the 3-cone, really good. 20-yard shuttle, really good. So while he might not have the top-end speed, he gets there pretty quickly. And he has solid hands with A catching, releases an F, catching traffic, not too good at a D, but has A short route running. But the medium and deep, they're D's, so I don't know. I've never really found a receiver that really stands off the group. But he is supposed to be around 1 to 2 talent, so someone we could still look to keep an eye on. Getting down the board here, there's a day 3 in Jerome Yancey, maybe related to our Terrence Yancey, who's a round 3 to 4 talent grade. Another guy that goes up in Drummond, so there's some late talent here. In fact, there's a bunch of guys that are day 3s who are actually around 3 to 4. So receiver might be someone we look to go to at a later point if no one at the top here really stands out from everyone else. We need everything: release, route running, hands. And the closest you might get to that would be Eric Booker. But he looks pretty similar outside of better release to the guy that's supposed to go down in the round 3 to 4 in Austin. On the offensive line, a couple interesting guys here, both power. One's around 1 to 2 projection, one's around 2 to 3. I think Alex Patton would be more someone I would look at to see where he's supposed to go. Second or third, give us some good day 2, day 3 talent. There are some pretty good options though at DT in those mid rounds, 3 to 4 projections. You got Ricardo McCullough, who's actually around 1 to 2 in terms of talent. And then you also have Desmond Norwood around 2 to 3, both players going up. Someone to keep an eye on as we look to add depth to the DT spot, especially if we move on from some guys. Now, when it comes to Norwood, he's going to be more of a all-around but lower starting spot. When it comes to McCullough, he's going to have a little bit more pass rush focus with a decent starting spot when it comes to run stopping. Now, since we are picking late first round, someone to keep an eye on, George Sanders. He was a round 1 talent, but he did drop his projection to around 2 to 3 talent. But he's got B across the board. That could be a really good floor for a player who could look to replace Josh Hines Allen. And in the day threes, you've got guys who also have some upside, though uncertain on it. Carlos Long and Mike Widmer both have the B for the block shedding with an upside of some power rush. There's not as much talent when it comes to the right side of the outside linebackers. One standout amongst the group, and that is going to be the top option in Terrell Fox with the A power moves and the B block shed. A really promising corner that's supposed to be around 2 to 3 would be available for us as a late first round pick, Nathan Amerson. If we do have the question around the corners on our depth chart, especially with their speed, B for both man and zone with a press. Taking a look at his player card, another guy from Bama, 6'3", good size, 188. He might be able to add a few pounds on, but he's going to have better speed than our other young corners with that 4'4", 4'5". When it comes to who we're doing our super focused scouting on, that'll be running back Jimmy Rose, tight end Richard Spellman, and outside linebacker, potential outside just edge rusher, Carlos Long. Focusing more on some later round talent, that we're trying to find some gems. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like Rose really goes up. He stays a day 3 talent, but I still think there's some raw ability there. Again, top end speed, not exactly what we're looking for, but there's some good raw running back skills here with the ball carrier vision, break tackle, carrying. He's just not going to do a whole lot of anything extra for you. So probably not the running back of our future, despite being fairly well-rounded. Spellman, he's another guy that is also not going to jump off the table at you. He's a true round 3 to 4 tight end. If we do look to add another guy there, he's a possession type, 6'4", 275. But even at that large frame, he's running about a 4'6" to 4'6'5". And he has the ability to catch the ball, to run block, even pass block as well. Injury those at a D. Some of the best skilled or highest skilled tight ends, they just don't have a good injury. And for Carlos Long, it's actually a good thing that we did scout him because he dropped to potential UDFA. He just didn't quite have the full skill set we were hoping he would have. There's a little bit of speed and strength to his game. The power moves are there, but it's just not coming with, I guess, some intangibles, because I see B for power moves and B for block shed. F injury is obviously a concern, but would be a depth guy. I still think he could be a solid player. I'm not sure where this UDFA is coming from. But as we look to head into the draft, I actually forgot until this moment, we don't have a first round pick, but we do, however, have 3 second round picks, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, a 5, 2 sixes, and then a couple of 7. So we've got a lot of picks to try to invigorate some youth into this group, replace some of the depth that has left. And I think with all these picks, we could probably find some gems. I think the plan for this one is simply just go BPA. As we get into the draft, we don't even have to worry then about first round, which I honestly think is good because I don't feel like this draft class really had that top tier talent. So what we're going to do is simply just get on down to pick 12 of the second round and see what is available. Just jumping ahead, we're not going to go through this all too slowly because we don't really know a whole much for the top end guys. They just didn't seem that good. But coming into this draft, really, we're looking at running back and receiver being the primaries that we're looking at. And there are 2 running backs in the round 2 to 3 that are available. Both are receiving backs. And they don't look all too promising. I still think Sammy Perkins might be the best of the bunch as that round 3 to 4 guy. My only concern with him, of course, is that slower speed. But with us talking about Levi Brown, that could be a pretty decent 1-2 punch. Over at receiver, there are some round 2 to 3s, but the grades on these guys just aren't that good. I think we could wait on receiver until round 3 and then go after someone like Brian Austin. Now, I know we've talked a lot about tight ends. That's probably because if I was an offensive player, I would be a tight end. But Kevin Poole looks pretty interesting at 6'4", 267, 22 years old out of LSU. He runs a mid 4.6. He's got the strength, He's got a really good 20-yard shuttle, second best in the tight end class, with this second best broad jump at least at his pro day. But even that was better than his 9.7 broad jump at the combine. Taking a look at the skills, he's got run blocking, pass blocking. He could do the medium, the short route running. Injury is a B to a D, so we're not sold on that. C for the deep route running. Hands are there, catching traffic is there. He has himself up there as a BPA kind of guy. And right now, I think the only other option would be a corner, and it's not even the top corner. Bryce Bullough, I just don't see what I'm looking for in him. Nathan Emerson, though, I do like what I see with that size. We saw him earlier. He's got the speed, he's got the press, and we have a potential starting spot open here for the cornerback group. Not necessarily with the tight end group. So I think our first pick, we might go after the tight end next. Nathan Emerson is our first selection of this draft. We go corner, as that is the one spot that has a spot open, slot. Maybe that does move Jarrian Jones back down to the slot, and Emerson goes to the outside. I mean, the war room is excited. You got Coach Madison Boston pumping his fist. The hat here for Emerson. Is he going to be everything we hoped for? We get B. He was ranked number 12. We drafted him at 44. How that's not an A+, I don't know. But behind my head, I'm blocking some of the scouting report. Can be trusted with a variety of zone coverage concepts, press ability, frustrating receivers at the line, concerns about his speed. I thought his speed seemed just fine, and he is a hidden dev with 92 speed, 96 change of direction with 90 acceleration. What are you concerned about? Did this guy have knee problems? That didn't come up in any of the scouting reports. Nathan Emerson might be our guy. And at this point, we don't pick again until late second round, so we're going to jump ahead. And yes, in the back of my head, I am thinking about that tight end. Is he still there? Let's go take a look. We also have pick 32 in this round. Jumping down to the tight ends. And Poole is still there, sitting at the top. Do we go tight end for the third draft in a row? He just looks so promising. And that question again, always in the back of my head, was Sexton with the injury. Not sold again with the injury here on Poole. It's B to a D. But we're rolling with it. We go tight end, pick number 2, and we might just be a spread tight end heavy group if we don't trust Javon Baker. But I think Austin could potentially be our next pick. That slot receiver, we'll take a look in a couple more picks as our tight end here with his family actually celebrating. I'm talking about you, Indianapolis Colts. B- grade. He's pick value number 46. We got him at 59. Soft hands, makes 50-50 balls look like they're 80-20 balls, shows promise running intermediate routes. That's what we like to see in our tight end. And he is a hidden dev, 83 speed, 74 strength. We've got a really strong tight end group. Madison Turner, you're probably back to the fullback role. We are just a couple picks down the line before we go again. Peter Groves, a corner, goes to Baltimore. To Green Bay, Amari Swift, off-ball linebacker I did have some interest in, but I didn't feel like we really needed him. Dolphins, they go with receiver Khalil Vanover. And then before us, the Cowboys select middle linebacker Al Jarrett. We are back on the clock. And I definitely just hit the wrong button. So we're going to find out who we picked here. Is it the receiver? Because that would be great. Well, we've got so many different selections here. I don't know. That looks like it might be a big fella. Did we go offensive line here? I have no idea. I guess we'll find out at the end of the draft. But now we don't pick until pick number 23 in the third round. Leave your comments below on one, roasting me for skipping the pick, but also who do you think we went after? This time, not skipping our pick. Let's go see what is available here in the third round. Now, we talked about receiver. And that day one talent is gone. So unless we drafted him, we may not be finding a fantastic option for the receiving group. And the running backs I liked as well are also gone. Did we draft the running back that I liked though? Because he was on our board. But I think I found a guy I would like to go after. Getting some help for the offensive line. Quentin Starks. He's around 3 to 4 projection. 6'2", 309, 21 years old, out of Notre Dame. Pass pro is what he does. Just a little under a 5-second 40. Decent bench reps at 32. Overall, a pretty good agile guy. Now, he's not a run blocker, so he would be moved to left tackle, most likely as depth, but he has the A awareness, A for pass block power, and for pass blocking. Run blocking is not good. That's why he's around 3 to 4 projection. This is a late round 3 pick. We're going after the offensive lineman, adding depth to a group that does need it. There is question along the offensive line. What do we do at guard? Does Rashawn Hartwell start? Well, we're going to add some talent there, and perhaps that opens up a potential trade with Harrison and bringing in a guard in that situation. But Starks, he's coming in at pick 87, true value number 25. Somehow that's a B-. Quick feet with strong hands in pass pro, understands leverage when defending power moves, shows quickness when defending speed rushers. As for his profile, we've got another hidden dev with 85 strength. We might have our answer for the offensive line and just shifting guys around yet again. We'll jump to our next pick, last in the 3rd round. And to be honest, I'm wondering if we take one of these quarterbacks. Not that we need one, but I just think that there is some interesting players at this position, and we could look to trade one away if we need to. And Terrell Hobbs is a guy I'm looking at. Now, he's a strong arm. He doesn't match really what we're looking for with having some speed, but he's 6'6", 229, 22 years old, out of Utah. He runs almost a 5-second 40, so he is not scrambling around. But he has A for both short and medium accuracy, B for deep. Tack onto that, he's got great throw power with some elite strength. I mean, it's intriguing for a guy that purely would just be trade candy at some point. We might have to consider this. And just taking a look at the entire board, I don't think there's anyone that sticks out at this point. So we're going to catch the falling round 1 quarterback in Tyrell Hobbs. A surprise pick here for our Jacksonville Jaguars, though we are not the Cleveland Browns, drafting 2 quarterbacks in one draft after just signing another quarterback about a week before. But we've got a guy to sit behind for a year, and potentially he will be involved in a trade rather quickly. But we get another guy with really good grades here. 57 true, we got him at 96. Played college basketball for 2 years. Pinpoint accuracy on intermediate throws and excels at throwing downfield. He is not a hidden dev, however. Speed is at a 71, throw power 92. Don't know if I'd consider that great. And once again, we're just a few picks away from our spot, so we will jump forward to pick number 99. Into the 4th round, this is where it's a little bit more comfortable taking chances on players. And here's one player that we would be risking picking at this spot in the 4th round. Meanwhile, early 4th round is a projected day 3 and talented day 3 Matt Conley receiver, 6'5", 234, 23 years old, out of Ole Miss. He's not a burner, but he's able to jump, especially with already being a fairly tall receiver. He could be an interesting guy towards the red zone. He has hands. Route running seems to be a little bit raw, but he's got the short. Everything else is a question mark. But the receiving group in general appears to be a question mark, and some of these guys rated talent-wise 3 to 4. I just don't see anything that's really that much better, if at all better, than Conley. So if we are going to go receiver, it might be him. Now, we do need depth for our defensive line. Chris Palmer is an option at 6'3", 276, out of Pittsburgh, 22 years old. He's got 4.8 to 4.7 speed, pretty solid bench reps, good broad, good vert, all right shuttle. Skill-wise, he's a power focus, does not come with much run-stopping ability. but he has a little bit of some finesse moves to fall back on. Injury concern though with a C to an F. On the opposite side, you have right end Carlos Davis, speed rusher, 6'1", 252, would be able to play again that edge rusher / outside linebacker role. From Penn State, he's got the speed, you're going to sacrifice some of the strength. The skills though, B finesse with the C power, D block shedding, so slightly improved, and we know the injury is a C, still not great, but we know what it is. And then down the middle, a guy I would be willing to take a shot on, a day 3 projection, James Truman out of Louisville, 6'3", 290. He's going to come in with sub 5-second 40. Bench reps, again, very questionable, probably more of a 3 tech than a nose tackle. Tackling is rough. Power moves are rough, but A finesse with C to F block shed. There is that upside. Maybe not at this spot, but someone to keep an eye on. And I think the pick here, it's got to be for versatility, as this is still a spot you could find some good talent. Carlos Davis will be the pick, the guy who could play edge rush, off-ball linebacker as well. The block shedding wins the race. We'll make a selection here, though I am suspecting that we're going to start to see a drop-off in talent at this point. And indeed, that would be the case. We get a C- grade as he was true ranked 167. We got him at 99. He'll need to hit the weight room, but in our scheme, I think he might be a good size. Hand fighting skills are a work in progress. Needs to work on developing his speed move arsenal. But I just think that finesse ability is too much to skip on for now. And now with the last pick in the 4th round, we're coming back to James Truman. Just another player that we could stick up front who's a big body and provides that A finesse moves. It's a talent that we don't quite have. We're more power focused up front. We're going to continue adding some finesse, going now with the big fella, the 3 tech in Truman. It appears these day 3 values are not hitting as we were hoping. Value 349, we got him at 128. Most pass rush wins come from finesse moves as predicted. Getting stronger is a must. As we predicted, can be invisible in the run game at times. Well, he will purely be an edge rusher or pass rusher for us. 70 speed with 79 strength. We'll see how he does. We're going to continue trusting Coach Boston because he's done well for us. Into the 5th round, Matt Conley will be our next pick. The big body receiver who shows to have more hands, slightly more route running than the rest of the bunch. Will he land in the 300s or will we rise back up in the value rankings? Well, we definitely rise up to 116, a better value than what we picked at 138. Sudden hands makes catching look easy, unbothered by defenders when catching passes. Concerns about his speed. We expected that 87 speed is where he comes in at, but just provides a different style receiver than what we really have on this roster. And in the 6th round, again, we're trusting the gut of Coach Boston, going with the talent of potential undrafted in Carlos Long. One of the players we had a special scout on. And he's another guy that could play outside linebacker, maybe a little bit of some edge rush for us. The B power moves with the B block shedding. He appears to be dual talented. Hopefully we'll see that come to fruition on the field. And we're hearing a lot of boos. And maybe that's because we just got a D grade on this pick. True value, 244. We picked him at 165. Slow linebacker in today's game. Slow reaction to developing plays. Power moves need better technique. But he's got 81 speed. So, I mean, I don't know exactly if I feel that scouting report is true. We'll see what the play on the field says. And keeping with some gambles here on the defensive side, George Dalton, who's 6'5", 291, played at Colorado. I feel like he's another guy who could flex both inside and out with the 40 bench reps. He's, however, a little bit slower, so maybe at most would be a 3 tech, not necessarily an edge rusher. But he's listed as a power move specialist, though power moves is at a C, block shedding is at a B. So I feel like those are going to be pretty even. We'll take another gamble here on a defensive lineman, adding another young guy to the bunch behind a very promising core. And ultimately, that was the goal of this draft. He comes in at 277. We got him at 179. Strong core and base, effective at block shedding in the run game, ineffective speed rusher. Well, obviously, because we know that he is power and block shedding. Finesse is at an F. He's a normal dev. Now into the 7th round. This is really where you're going to be digging, seeing how well you scouted to find late talent. And I think Leon Holt is one of those guys. 5'10", 197, 22 years, corner, man-to-man from Wake Forest. Not the top-end speed, 4'5". He's not the strongest guy, but he just seems to have a really solid floor. C for zone and man with B for press. Tackling is also at a C. He could be a solid depth guy for us, and potentially down the line could see some playing time. We're going to go after Holt, and he's going to come in at one of our highest rated guys in the second half of this draft. 119. We got him at 204. Not a burner, but decent speed. Average recognition skills. Allows receivers too much separation, though, in man. That's why he's a work in progress. With normal dev, he has 87 speed. He could be a candidate to potentially move over to safety if we don't like the fit with the speed. And we're really digging deep now with our second to last pick, potential undrafted projection, Harry Barber, who's 5'11", 229, out of Notre Dame. He's a power back who runs that 4'5" to about upper 4'9". He's got some strength to his game. Acceleration isn't the best, but he's explosive. He's got the A trucking, B stiff arm, B for the spin move with B ball carrier vision, break tackle, and carrying. Catching is at a C, which honestly isn't too bad for a power back either. We're going to pull the trigger on him, and perhaps the pick that we skipped was another running back. We'll find out at the end, as we are almost there. But Barber comes in at spot 175. We picked him up at 207. Will utilize spin to avoid defenders, shows good balance to run through tackles, and holds ball tight to body, limiting fumbles, which is what we like to hear. Normal depth for him with 89 speed is actually not too bad. 88 acceleration might be a solid power back for us. And for pick Mr. Irrelevant, I think we're going to catch the falling round 2 to 3 receiver out of Georgia, who's 6'5", 223. And the physicals, 4'4" speed, strength at 19 reps is actually really good for a receiver. But I'm also wondering, with the A to B run blocking, if he provides perhaps the ability to move over and play tight end as well. Switching to a vertical style offense, this might be a big fit. It's Mr. Irrelevant, and he's our guy. And now it's time to officially meet the class and see who we ended up drafting when we skipped our selection. So draft recap. After what might be our largest, most likely our largest draft class here, we did get a running back, Sammy Perkins, and I believe that was the running back that I liked. We'll see him in a moment. But let's start from the top. Nathan Amerson, a hidden dev corner, coming in at 75 overall, 6'3", 188. And he does have a very balanced skill set to start. Tackling is at a 59. I expected that to be a little bit higher. I don't think catching's at a bad spot either. I think he could very well be a day one starter for us in the slot, and that does provide some more flexibility for us at the corners with shifting guys to cover depth at safety. With our second pick, we picked up Kevin Poole, a hidden dev 73 overall tight end. And the most important thing here, 93 injury. That is what we like to see. He's got some speed, he's got hands, good run blocking. Honestly, that leaves Brenton Strange, I think, available to be traded or cut if we need, because we also have Madison Turner, and I'd like to keep him around on a cheap rookie deal. And then how about the guy that we didn't draft, but we did because we had him on our board as one of our favorites, Sammy Perkins, the power back, 74 hidden dev. Thank you, CPU, for helping us out. We get the guy out of Connecticut. Now, what's that speed? 88 with 91 excel. That's not bad. And he's pretty well balanced. His injury, though, is concerning at an 84. So he's not a full-time guy. He's like a maybe first down and short down situations, which means I think at this point, unless we find someone in the future, we're leaning towards the future of our backfield being a little bit more of a rotational role. But getting back to our own selections, we did get Quentin Starks, another hidden dev. So the top 4 picks we had, all hidden devs, which might make up for our lack of success in some of these later picks. But he is coming in with some pretty good abilities to pass block. And it's a balanced penalty tendency. So I think he very well could be our future then at left tackle. Let's look to make that official. We'll be sliding him over, and with that, he will be changing his number to a number in the 70s. 78 sure looks good. And then how about the surprise quarterback? We go with Terrell Hobbs, 73 overall, normal dev. And I mean, yeah, he's a very balanced guy, and I'm sure there will be a quarterback hungry team that might provide something that we need. Doesn't mean that he's going to be here this year. In fact, we might look to move him rather soon. But now we drop into the area of this draft where we really just started taking chances on players. And I think we found a lot of good depth. They're going to need to see some progress. Carlos Davis starting us off. The edge rusher who could also play a little bit of off-ball linebacker for us at 6'1", 252. He came out of Penn State. He's a normal dev, but he's got the speed. He's got some finesse there, but there's definitely room to improve. But I think with the lack of block shedding, it's probably best we officially mark him as an outside linebacker. So going from right, and then we'll move him over to right outside, should be a decent fit. And I will say that does lower his overall by just 1, so it's a pretty easy switch. We needed depth at that spot. We did not have any. Now to the finesse rusher in James Truman, probably our biggest bust of a pick. He's a 62 overall, but a team is good for these when you have all these amount of picks. Normal dev, and he's coming in with 75 finesse. Lock shedding is at a 58. The problem is with that 70 speed, he's never really going to be able to play anywhere further than a 3 tech. So we'll see what the future holds for him, but I'm thinking probably practice squad for at least a couple seasons. One of our biggest hits this late, we did draft Mac Conley. He's the tall guy from Ole Miss at 6'5", 234, 23 years old, 69 normal. And he's coming in with some slower speed, but the hands are there, release is there, there's some short route running. This is at least going to add some depth to our receiving group. Run blocking, though, down at a 48. I don't think he's making any sort of transition to tight end. And for Carlos Long, he was a undrafted talent that I just thought had too much talent to go undrafted. He comes in 65 normal, but has 72 power moves and 72 block shedding. I think that is a really good fit for us. And again, at a spot where we really needed some depth. I'll probably be changing up a lot of these guys' numbers. Carlos Long will not be wearing number 4. Now in a lateral draft selection, George Dalton comes in, also 65 normal. He's going to be more of an interior or down defensive lineman who might move around a little bit. But with the 67 speed, won't move around too much. 73 block shedding. He is a run stopper with some power move upside, and we needed some depth. But getting to our 7th rounders, I feel like we hit pretty good on these guys. Leon Holt comes in at a 69 overall normal dev, 72 man, 72 press with the zone not that far behind. Another guy that could potentially shift to a safety spot or just be pure depth. And lastly, but certainly not least, we get Kerry Barber, another running back, 67 overall, normal dev. He might be a practice squad type for this year. I feel like we've got good enough depth, especially with us drafting, but not drafting the running back early on. Really solid guy. We'll see where he best fits. Now, heading into this draft, I said I didn't think it was really a top-heavy kind of draft. And while there were a couple 80s, some high 70s overall, you did quickly get down into the mid-70s and lower. So, again, there wasn't, I think, that guy to go after in the first round for us, even with all of these trades that we could have looked to maybe trade on. Looking at the positions we really needed, running back was one, and the highest rated running back did go to the Buffalo Bills, and Jeremy Jones. Out of Syracuse, he's another power back, hidden dev, 78 true overall, but he has that 90 speed. He could be someone of the future, and honestly is a very well-rounded player. He has hands, it's just the juke and spin are a little bit low. And as for receiver, the number one option did go second overall in Taj Gilmore. We weren't trading up to that point, but he's 6 foot, about 200 pounds, 77 true overall with a hidden dev. And he's got some good short medium route running. The release could use some work, doesn't have that top end speed. Overall, I'm perfectly happy with what we ended up doing in this draft. I mean, the real core of this draft was about 75 to 73 overalls, and we had our first 5 picks all fall in that category, 4 of those 5 all being hidden devs. So I think we really nailed what this draft had to offer for us, and we filled in a whole lot of depth. But before we get the season really rolling here, we still have some moves that we want to get done before it's all said and done. And we have some trade offers coming in, all of which currently for Javon Baker, no one really interested in anyone else. And right now, I don't feel like we're at a spot that we really want to trade Baker unless we trade someone else for another receiver, because Baker is right now slotted to be our number 3, though I do still want to see some playing time here from Kirk Colbert. So I think we need to shop around. And I think I just found a very interesting receiver. Seahawks, they signed Gabe Davis. So right now they're rocking 4 receivers, 80 plus overall. Adele Griffin is only in his 2nd year as a star out of Texas A&M. He's 5'10 though, 175, so he's a smaller player. Plus he's wearing Tyler Lockett's number. That should be illegal. He's a pure down the field threat at 97 speed. That's something we don't necessarily have. We have some solid speed, but the true deep receiver, I don't really feel like we have. This could be a solid option for us, and I whipped up an interesting trade to offer. We would want Dell plus their 2nd. It's a heavy offer, but we would be giving them Foye Oluokun. They do need a linebacker. That's number 4 for them. And then we'd give them a 5th round in return. We're going to submit this offer. Seahawks, what do you think? They don't think all too highly of it, so that's maybe something we would have to come back to. I imagine we would have to move down from this too. Another player that I do like, not on the same level and a little bit older, we would have to offer a contract here. Troy Franklin from the Broncos. Again, they're running pretty deep, but he's a 77 overall star dev. And he again would provide some down the field ability, though has a bit more of a well-rounded skill set. The hands are there, the route runnings are there, release is there as well. Franklin could be a really solid option. So just adding him to the board and seeing what the Broncos are looking at here, they are actually wanting a little bit more. Now, they are interested in Javon Baker. If we were to make a swap here for a slightly younger player, slightly lower overall, we would want a little bit more in return. But honestly, just looking at these two, if it's not a deal for the Seahawks receiver, I think Franklin and Baker are too similar to really require a trade. So I believe if we are going to have any trades, it would be something that's a little bit smaller, a player for player of the like. And the Giants, they could use a starter here at strong safety, and they have an interesting defensive lineman in Marquez Hughes. Now, the guys we drafted, they're a couple years away from really seeing playing time. I think Hughes could come in with that speed and strength combo, be very similar to Raheem Griffey, and provide balance across the front, which would be really nice for us. It was something we didn't quite get accomplished in this season or in this offseason. So we're going to put this offer just straight up player for player, and they will accept. Daxton Hill, you were not good for us. Bye-bye. Now that does even more make Jordan Jefferson available for trade. So let's see what offers we have on the table. And the Chargers are honestly starting off with a pretty good one, a 22-year-old off-ball linebacker or outside linebacker. We'll see where he best fits. That could be an option. And in fact, these are the only 2 options. So Kerry Fells plus a 7th round pick. Let's take a look at him. He is off-ball, pass coverage, 6'1", 233. And block shedding is really low. That's 62. But he does have some pretty good coverage skills. But we need more of an actual outside linebacker edge rusher. So calling up the Cardinals then, we were offering a slightly lower overall DT. They could still use with him. He would be probably a rotational player. Bullard is stuck behind a couple different guys. Now, in order to get this deal done, I do think we would need to offer a little something extra. So I say we would toss in probably a 6th round pick, and we'll bring in Kendall Bullard, who honestly could potentially rival Ellis for a starting spot if we do look to move on from Josh Hines-Allen. With that 87 power moves, the block shedding is a little bit low, but I do like what I see here. We'll see if the Cardinal also like this deal, submitting that trade offer, and they really do not see the value in Jefferson. Well, the Chargers, they just contacted us about Kerry Fells. He was an off-ball linebacker. But taking a look then at Philip Barnett, who's in his 2nd year. He's 24 years old, so he's on the older side. But he's someone who might be able to fit that off-ball / edge rusher role for us at 6'1", 264. He is a speed rusher, 84 speed to 79 strength. He's got the finesse, better block shedding. This could be a solid move for us. And they clearly need help along with Andrew Dudley, their rookie DT. Now this time we'd be looking for compensation back our way, so we'll add a 5th on here for Philip Barnett. Chargers, do you want a new DT? They say yes, and we get the depth we needed on the outside that's at a playable level. Now that still leaves Foye Oluokun, a guy who I do want to move on to end this episode. What are the offers we are receiving? Will Hernandez, not really an upgrade for us. Traylon Burks, that would be an interesting add at receiver, though I don't believe we really need that. Max Melton, a pretty solid corner, not really looking for that. Cameron Mitchell, not going to send Oluokun to a rival, that's for sure. Forbes, again, really good corner, but I like where we're at with corners. And I'm sure we're solid here at center. Will Fries, an interesting player, but he's on the older side. I'm looking for some younger players to add. And we're not seeing a whole lot of options here. And here's the offer I'm going to put on the table. Foye Oluokun, an 85 overall. We're looking in to bring in some depth for our safeties. And Matt Barton has the potential to be a future starter with that zone and man both at a 76. He could tackle, he could hit, he could play backup for both free and strong. And if we're playing a multiple defense, if we go into a 4-2-5 look, he could play a little bit of slot as well. So a good versatile player. Now the Dolphins are looking for middle linebacker or off-ball linebacker. It's their 3rd biggest need. So this could be an option for us. Unfortunately, we would have to find a way to take on about an extra $2 million to make this happen. The player that could make that happen is Roger Bender. He is the 3rd-year center for the Miami Dolphins, and he's a power-focused run blocker. There's not much pass blocking there. This would be more of a way to get out of their dead money, and maybe if we put him on our practice squad, we could get out of it as well. But another option over on the Falcons would be Jose Cobbs. He's a little bit slower, but still the coverage is actually really good. And as it stands, they have a guy who's younger than him in the starting lineup, and they also need a linebacker. So I feel like we could look to make this trade, and they have plenty of cap space to get the job done. We'll ask for that 2nd rounder, and we'll see what they think about this trade. We're pretty close. We'll toss in one of our late 5th and a 7th round pick, and we'll shake hands on this deal. Now that still leaves the big question around Josh Hines-Allen. We have 2 years left on his deal. He's set to make $31 to $32 million each season. As it stands right now, we do have $42 million in cap space, so we do not have to work a deal right now. But taking a look at deals that we might have to put in place moving forward, Antone Harrison, he's on his last season. Do we look to trade him as well, or do we look to re-sign him? We talked about maybe trading Deo, not getting the best draft capital this year. I think perhaps we do look to keep him around. We do have to re-sign Akeem Okwonu, who was just one of the best linemen last season, so he's going to ask for a little bit. Devon Baker perhaps is going to want some money. Mason Smith is up. Jonah Ellis, if we move off of Josh Hines-Allen, we might have to then pay Ellis. Jerry and Jones is up for a contract negotiation. So some money is set to come off the board. Would $44 million be enough if we keep around Josh Hines-Allen? I'll leave that debate up to you. You let me know down in the comments below. Do we keep Josh Hines-Allen at least until the trade deadline? Then do we maybe look to make that move? Or do we trade him right now? Or do we keep him and try for another go at a Super Bowl before some more of these older guys end up peeling away from the team? I hope you enjoyed this offseason. We got a lot done today. We'll see how big this draft class is and if it matches last season's draft class with the rookie quarterback Jeff Polk, who led us to that Super Bowl. Make sure you stick around by hitting that bell icon on the bottom right or scrolling down and hitting that sub button and tapping that bell icon so you're notified of when these videos go live. We're here every single Wednesday with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got Cha-Cha Vaz, who just killed it yesterday during his stretch of the last 10 games, doing about anything you could ask for. We'll be back with him tomorrow. And then an episode you do not want to miss on Friday with the Stanford Cardinal, going for that perfect season. We'll see you over there. We'll see you back here as we get season 4 underway with the Jacksonville Jaguars welcoming in a few more new players and potentially a big trade to kick off the season.